Thank you for being here. My name is Alisa, and this is Jono. We're going to be doing a tag team kind of conversation with you today. We are honored that you have come to be part of our conversation. We hope to provide some helpful information, as it says, about the what's, whens, and kind of importantly, the whys of what we do in children's and youth ministries here at Peace. But our goal is to have some time at the end for questions and a chance for you to look over some resources. Well, some of you may be aware that we have a new department structure here at Peace, kind of a framework to help us do what we do in a more organized fashion. And Jono and I are part of, I have to look because it's a long name, the Children and Youth Discipleship and Shepherding Department. We have an elder rep, and that's Dale Wally, who has just traveled back from Egypt this week. Wasn't sure if he would actually be here in person. And Ryan Swanson, who is our deacon. And the reason to tell you that is that part of that mission was to come up with a mission statement for each of our departments. And this continues to evolve, but I wanted to share this with you because it's part of what our heart is for the children and youth of Peace. This is a current stab at where we are, and I'm just going to read it through the guidance of the Holy Spirit and with the support of their parents. Our Peace kids and youth will experience a loving and learning community that will encourage them to become fully devoted followers of Jesus Christ. Those are a lot of words to say. What we are about is we are about making disciples. And as the psalm verse up there says, it is our goal to tell the coming generation about the Lord, and then that they will tell the generation after that and the generation after that. And you can see that what we've done is we've kind of mapped that mission statement to the three different focus areas that Peace Church has: worship Christ, build community, and love Carrie. And then beneath that there's other things. And the only reason to show you this is to let you know that we have very intentionally looked at all the things we do to decide, is what we're doing supporting these things or not, so that we can make sure we are majoring on the majors and partnering with you. And just to give you an idea behind one of those, I want to share the details behind the one under Build Community that says enjoy milestone celebrations. You see, we want your children, and if you don't have children here now, thank you for being here to support Peace Children's and Youth. We want them, when they come to Peace Church, to love coming to church. Not just for the period of time that they're under your roof, but hopefully a love for Jesus and a love for church that will last them a lifetime. And so when they come, we want them to feel loved. We want them to feel safe. We want them to know that we are happy to see them. And when they're not here, that we notice that they're not here and that we miss them. By the way, we're also happy to see you. But speaking as a Sunday school teacher, I'm most happy to see them. I know they can't drive the car, so it's important that you come. But we aim from the time they are born at Peace until the time they graduate from high school to celebrate with them important milestones and let them know that we as a church family notice. So from birth and getting a baby Bible and the chance to get some meals for a new mom, through infant baptism, when they graduate from nursery, to our Sunday school program at age 2, on their birthdays after that, hopefully when they publicly announce their own personal faith in Jesus Christ and stand up in front of the church and declare that. And then again when they graduate from high school. We want them to know that we are part of their life, that their church family is here for them. We want them to know Jesus, not just who he is, not just all the stories that they can read about in lots of different storybooks, but to really know Jesus, to know him as Lord and Savior. We want them to understand what they believe and why they believe it, so that when they go out into the world where they may not be surrounded by a consistent church family like this one, that they can defend and explain to somebody else why they believe what they believe. You know, God made a covenant promise to us to never leave us or forsake us. And that covenant promise of God frames what we do in terms of making kingdom disciples here at Peace. Because we believe that making disciples is really passing on a way of life. That verse there from Luke says, "A disciple is not above his teacher, but everyone, when he is fully trained, will be like his teacher." And I don't know about you, but this statement below, I really like it. It's by Larry Richards, who's a prominent Christian education writer. He writes, "Much of education is concerned with helping people know what their teachers know. Christian education is concerned with helping people become who their teachers are." Now, I don't know about you, but that's a sobering statement to me, who stands up in front of children every week. And because we are partnering with you as the primary teachers of your children, I hope that that's a statement that also causes you to pause about your own walk and what do I know and what do I need to do to be able to be the kind of teacher that I'm doing, to be the kind of teacher that I need to be. So we believe that making disciples is a way of life, and there's a number of different ways that that's accomplished, and I'm just going to speed through these, but the first is, of course, teaching them the Bible. The second, enjoying fellowship, praying together, serving together. Sometimes we have to experience discipline. Ouch. Enjoying the sacraments of baptism, communion, and worshiping the King. So these are all elements of things that we do. And the reason I show this, again, is to just let you know that there are a lot of great churches out there that have a lot of great children's programs. I know because you guys give me examples and tell me all the time. And while we do want our kids to love coming, we do want it to be fun, we have a really intentional purpose behind the things that we do and the way that we do them, because we think this is serious business. We also believe that our theology, our Reformed and covenantal theology, directs the choices we make in some of the things that we do, from our curriculum to our music, etc. And I'm not going to present on theology today, but I did want to point out that you'll see a couple charts here coming up. On the left it says typical, which is what a number of churches will do, and I'm not here to church bash, I'm just here to point out differences and what we believe in from a Reformed and covenantal point of view. And it's not that we don't focus on children and their needs. We do. And by the way, if you have a child that has special needs, we want to come alongside you to help deal with that. But our goal is not every Sunday, happy, happy, happy. Everybody has to be happy, happy, happy. Our goal is to focus all of us on God and His glory. That's what we're doing. That's what we're teaching. We are trusting in God's covenant promise to us that as children of believers, our children will also believe, and hopefully their children after them. And we do teach Bible stories at different levels and different developmentally appropriate ways. But the goal is not just to tell a fun story that they can come home and recount to you. We really want them to understand that from Genesis to Revelation, the Bible, every word is true. My kids hear me say that every single Sunday. Every word is true in God's Word, because the world, as you know, will tell them differently. So every word is true. And God is fulfilling His promise of redemption all the way from Genesis to Revelation. So that's what we want to show them. We incorporate music in different ways Sunday morning and soon to come Sunday evening. It's fun when music is catchy. Some of you parents that have listened to VBS songs for months on end will tell me about those earworms. I mean, music is a great way to have people, all of us, retain information and learn things. And certainly if it's catchy and they're singing it, even if they don't totally understand every single word, it's okay. But we want it to be catchy, we want them to remember, and we want them to hide it in their heart. But the reason that we have that music at church and enjoy it together is for the worship of God. We expect discipleship, as it says, to begin at the very beginning. Yes, I'll talk about this in Sunday school. We teach 2-year-olds the beginning tenets of theology. Of course, we don't call it theology, but we start to teach them faith words, even that young. And then we also expect that service is a primary component of what they're doing. We don't think, let's wait until they are adults and then they'll start serving in the church. We talk about what it means to serve our church family, what it means to love Carrie, how to serve them. We incorporate that in many of the things that we do in youth group as the youth learn to serve alongside adults. This next statement, we see the whole church in the role of teacher. Yes, that means all of you and the rest of our church family. While we might be in there from 9:45 to 10:45 every Sunday with a very specific lesson, we are all teachers and role models. And just one of the purposes of us being here today is for me to remind you, you know, in church when there's an infant baptism and you stand up and say, I commit to support this family and this child in the nurture and the admonition of the Lord, that's what you are committing to come alongside. We do, as I said, expect true disciples at a very young age that young children can understand. And of course, as they grow, they learn more. And finally, that our children and youth is not an independent silo unto itself. We think that the family unit is integral to this. And we try to approach our ministry in that way. I love this statement. You may have seen me talk about it before. It's by a woman named Sue Jakes, who's part of our denomination's Committee on Discipleship Ministries. She says, we in children's ministry, she specifically was talking about this, we are not minding the fort. We are fighting the war. And I just want to remind you, again, that we want to come alongside you in doing that. We do not want to be the only Christian education that your children get. And by the way, in my class, I can tell you, I know what a great job you're doing at home with your kids. I see it and I hear it in their answers and in their level of engagement. But we want to come alongside you to do that. What they're going to see and hear from the world, of course, is very, very different than what you and I believe, and we want to be able to equip them. You are raising the church and the church leaders of tomorrow. The folks that are going to take our places in these seats and at these lecterns and in the pulpit one day. And so know that together we're fighting the world for the attentions of our children and for their souls, and know that that informs everything that we do. I just want to talk about what we are going to be offering on Sunday mornings. Is Becca here? Is she over in the nursery? She's not. I just want to introduce, in case you haven't met them yet, Sarah Ennis back here, who has to go back and finish teaching Sunday school. She did not leave them unattended. But Sarah's pulling double duty. She is teaching our 5th grade Sunday school class along with her husband Zan, but she's also our new children's church coordinator, and she is the one that helps put all those schedules in place and organizes volunteers and finds subs and all kinds of things, and we're very appreciative for her. We are glad that we are back inside with your children. It gave us great joy to be back in person. And so, as you know, we now have at 8:30, we have nursery across the way for infants and toddlers. And then we have children's church at 8:30 here in our children's church rooms in the education building. We do a Bible story, an interactive kind of Bible story time. It's short because I don't know, you all know, these are 2s through kindergartners. Their attention spans are short. We do a Bible story during that time. And there's usually a coloring sheet. The story reinforces the lesson that we do actually in my Sunday school class. So they're going to get it twice in the morning if they're here for my Sunday school and that. Repetition is excellent at that age. And we also do inside and outside playtime. But I just want you to know we support and encourage your efforts to have your children worship alongside you. We are happy to provide children's church. We know sometimes the squirmy wormies take over and it's impossible for you to focus. We're glad to be there for that. But we also encourage you to start training your children to sit alongside you, whether it's out on a blanket in the courtyard during first service or in the pew. And if there's any resources or help that we can provide to help you with that, please let us know. You are welcome to drop off your kids at the beginning of children's church, after the music, if they enjoy doing music with you, or at any time in the service. There's not a cutoff time. If they get beyond your level of patience, shall we just say, you are welcome to bring them by, and we are happy to take them. Right, Sarah? Anytime. Right now, we do not have enough approved volunteers to safely staff 11 a.m. nursery and children's church, and we are continuing to evaluate that. We hope that by the next time we do a schedule cycle, we will have enough to offer that, and that this virus will go away. In the meantime, just to let you know, we have asked all volunteers to wear masks regardless of their vaccination status while they're serving children. We'd rather be safe than sorry at this point. And so that's what we're doing. And as much as I've just encouraged you to bring your children to church, and we'll keep doing that, we really do thank you that you don't bring them when they are sick. Thank you for not exposing all of us and your fellow attendees. Sunday school, we are back with classes from ages 2, and so we promote in the fall, as you know, and so if they turn 2 by August 31st of this year, they can come to a Sunday school class. We have classes from 2 to high school, something for everybody. We have we use the Show Me Jesus curriculum, and there's some information in the back that you can pick up if you're interested in what they do. We know what they are doing from the time they walk in the door until then. There are 832 Sundays from the time a child enters the 2-year-old class, their first possible Sunday, and the time they graduate from high school, give or take a few. I mean, sometimes we don't have Sunday school, but essentially 800 opportunities that we want to take full advantage of. And having your children here enables us to pour into them those times. We start in our preschool class, as I said, with just teaching them about the language of faith and very basic concepts. Who is Jesus? Jesus is God's Son. What is sin? Sin is disobeying God. Very basic concepts, and of course we build on that. Our preschoolers, the class that I help with, we talk a lot about God's family. What does that look like? What happens when God's family is broken? How does He reconcile them to Himself? How are we part of that family? And then when they get to elementary age classes, they're focusing on really what does it mean to trust and obey Jesus? What does it mean to read the Bible and understand what it says? As they get into 3rd and 4th grade, what does it mean to pray? They keep lists of prayer requests and how they are answered within their class. They talk about what does a personal devotional time look like so that they can start to develop that good habit. And then when they get to 5th grade and beyond, we introduce a chronology. They go through the entire Bible, Old Testament and New Testament, Genesis to Revelation, to look at that scarlet thread of redemption. And most importantly, to talk about what does it mean to me? Why should I care about this? How does it relate to the things that I'm dealing with my family, with school, with life? So I really am, as you know, very high on our curriculum. I'm also very high on our teachers. We have an amazing, Peace Church is blessed. We have an amazing set of dedicated teachers that love to love on and teach your children. And we can be grateful because as I talk with other children's ministry people, they are begging people to do this. So we are blessed indeed. And if you have a chance to tell them thank you or write them a little note, it really means a lot to them. They incorporate all kinds of activities, obviously at the different levels, but they do things that appeal to visual learners. They also are aware that some kids learn better through auditory learning, and that other kids, maybe some of you say, oh no, that's totally my kid, are kinesthetic learners, we call them. Active learners who like hands-on experiences. So we try to incorporate not every lesson, not every one of those, but we try to incorporate those aspects into our lessons to keep the kids engaged. And I strongly encourage you to ask your kids when they come home from Sunday school, what did you learn today? To set aside a time, maybe it's Sunday lunch, Sunday dinner, or maybe it's another day of the week that's not as busy with church things, but to sincerely ask them, what did you learn? What did you think about that? What's something you learned from the Bible today? And if you ever have any questions about what they're learning or what a teacher said, please don't hesitate to contact me about that.
Well, good morning.
Good morning.
It's good to see all of you. If you don't know me, I'm Jono Darville. I am the new youth director here at Peace. I do want to, as I open, share just some comments about the purpose and value of what we do with the youth group before we talk about what we do, when we do it, where we do it, and how we do it. And I have some prepared comments that I've written, so I'm actually going to read these to you as we go through what we do for Sunday mornings. So the goal of everything we do is that these students would know and lean into what it means to be truly and fully human. We want them to grow in spiritual maturity and joy. I think we all know that we live in a society that tells you that freedom is doing whatever you want. No right, no wrong, no rules for me. I know you have kids and I know you know the end of the song. What is it? Frozen? No right, no wrong, no rules for me. I'm free? Yeah? No? Okay.
We've all blocked it out.
We've all blocked it out. In reality, freedom is when what you ought to do is what you want to do and what you in fact do. We want students to grasp that God's will is the blueprint by which they have been designed to function and flourish. If you will permit me to quote a Baptist, as John Piper says, God is most glorified in us when we are most satisfied in Him and His ways. And we want the students to know that. On our website, the youth mission statement reads as follows. Peace Youth is all about pointing middle school and high school students towards relationship and adventure with Jesus. While our culture often doesn't take young people very seriously, we recognize that students are exploring truth claims, asking questions, and making decisions that will affect the rest of their lives. Our goal is to be a positive support and an encouraging resource to youth and their families during these important years of spiritual formation. And one way we do that with regard to Sunday mornings is Sunday school. So every Sunday morning from 9:45 to 10:45, we meet on the second floor of the education building to fellowship, eat snacks, and learn. And that's actually where the students are right now. I'm sure many of you are familiar with William Wilberforce and Hannah More. Did you know that in addition to partnering to abolish the slave trade, William Wilberforce and Hannah More partnered to bring education and spiritual formation to the working poor in Britain? They convinced parents of the working poor to let their children come to a school on Sundays to learn how to read as a way to improve their prospects. And of course, what they taught them to read in a society that was highly illiterate, and in a society where only the rich could afford to formally educate their children, what they taught these children they taught them not only how to read, what they taught them to read was the Bible. This process not only ended up reforming the morals of this demographic, it served as the foundation of what would later become the English primary schools. It was the foundation of what led to public schools as we know it. So the church, that's our heritage. Sunday school led to what we see today in our society as free education. I share this because I want to remind us of the privilege and value of Sunday school. Sunday school is an antidote to the godless education our society is trying to give children, in particular through social media and streaming services. Every day, our children are inundated with false narratives suggesting that they are in some secular or quasi-spiritual story in which they are the main character. To combat this, we have chosen a curriculum which teaches students the true story of the whole world. Over the course of the next 2 years, we will be tracing the covenant of grace from Genesis to Revelation and exploring our place in the story. So I want to tell you a little story about my wife, Jillian, who I think is here. Let's see. She's here. Okay. When Jillian and I first started dating, there's an 8.5-year age difference, so she was still in college at Anderson University in Anderson, South Carolina, studying to be an artist. But that's where it was a Christian school, and that was where she took a Bible class, and she tells me that that was the first time, having grown up in the Bible Belt and having grown up going to church, it was the first time that she ever heard that the Bible was one big story. That from Genesis to Revelation, that the Bible told one big story about Jesus. She didn't know that. So all she had growing up were these disparate pieces of truth, right? All these, whether it's just different doctrines or different stories, but no idea how they all fit together. So it's like having separate puzzle pieces, but no idea what the front of the box looks like. So it's critically important for our students to know that they are in fact living in the true story of the whole world, which is told in the Bible, and that they have a cognitive understanding of what that means, so that they can lean into it, so that they can live it out. So that's why we believe it's so critically important to tell them, to learn what is a covenant. It defines our relationship with God, what our responsibilities are, what His promises are to us. And that the Bible is in fact not only the true story, it's the true story of reality. Reality is not customizable to our preferences or their feelings and preferences. They will only flourish when they realize that they are to conform their lives to God's will, and that's where true joy is. So this telling of the covenant from Genesis to Revelation is critically, critically important. So Sunday mornings, we will be learning who God is, who He has made us to be, what went wrong with the world, and how God has acted in history through the covenant of grace to fully restore and heal the world. So that's what we're doing on Sunday mornings.
While Jono and crew have been back with the youth group Sunday night number 2, I'm excited to announce that we're getting ready to restart Sunday evening programs for children on October the 10th, God willing. We are very excited that we're going to be able to offer nursery for infants and toddlers on Sunday evenings from 6 to 7. And we will be restarting Joy Makers. For those of you that have been around a while, we're doing a little different thing with Joy Makers this year. We're doing ages 2 and 3. We're trying to get our nursery numbers under control over there on Sunday evening. And so Joy Makers will be for ages 2 and 3 in the same classroom that they do Sunday school in. And Julie Beasley and Rosie Thomas is going to be helping until Indra Hoover comes back with them. Then we'll have Friend Makers, which is ages 4 through 1st grade. They're going to be just across the hall from that over here in the building. And I'm super excited because we have 2 couples that have children those ages that are going to be co-leading that group. Stephen and Jackie Lee and Chris and Nicole Nichols. I think between them they have 3 children that are in that age group, along with myself and a couple other helpers. And then Becky and her team of Megan Clayton and Angie Anderson and Beth Barfield will be leading Peacemakers, grades 2 through 5, in the sanctuary and outside. And I know in the past some folks have said, you do those choirs for children on Sunday night. My kids don't like to sing and they don't like to do this. Just let me encourage you. Yes, we incorporate music because we think it's a great way to worship together. But these are really like community groups for children. It is a chance for your children to join with other kids whose parents believe the same things that they do and make friendships. We have, I don't know what the current number is, we represent as a congregation a huge number of different schools. When you add in all the different preschools, elementary schools, charter schools, private schools, homeschool options for elementary, middle, and high, we represent a vast variety of schools. So these kids that your children are with on Sunday morning, they may not see again until the next Sunday. That's why it's so critical to give them an opportunity morning and evening to make friendships with these other kids and to start to grow those kinds of forever friends. But we do more than just develop friendships. We of course have playtime, and when they're younger, a lot of the time is more play inside and out. We'll be outside a lot as we start this fall in our different playgrounds. But we also have a Bible lesson and a chance to talk about what God's Word means again on Sunday evening. So let me encourage you on October 10th to come. We are super excited about our playground area here so that now we have multiple spaces with fences where we can have young children. And Todd just told me that the deacons just approved some enhancements that we've been excited about to the play area down the hill to beef it up a bit for our elementary age kids. And so I'm super excited about that.
So Sunday evenings for youth consists of youth group and eventually Wednesday nights, which I'm going to tell you both about now. So on Sunday evenings from 5:30 to 7:30, we meet for youth group, and right now we're meeting in the courtyard. We serve the food here, but then we eat it outside just until we have a better idea of our numbers and how everybody feels about being inside, and we have a better grasp of what's going on with COVID. But each week we eat dinner together, play games, and then have a lesson followed by discussion. And by way of reminder, this year middle school students are primarily being taught from a variety of GROW curriculums, which if you're interested in learning more about, I can send you samples of. And the high school students are primarily being taught through the book of 1 Corinthians. I do think that just in our cultural moment, if you know anything about the book of 1 Corinthians, it's a very appropriate book for us to go through with Christian sexual ethics, unity in the midst of a lot of division, what is the gospel, so all of that in the book of 1 Corinthians. In addition, we will be dedicating a number of weeks to what I am calling Apologetics Sundays. So every 4 to 5 weeks, we will bring the middle school and high school students together to explore things like the evidence for the existence of God, the historical reliability of the New Testament, the relationship between science and faith, unity in an age of division, a Christian sex ethic, all those types of things. And as Alisa said, the goal is for students to know what they believe and why they believe it so that they can stand confidently in a post-Christian world that wants to undermine the Christian faith. I think apologetics is not only an aid in them growing in their faith, but as Alisa alluded to, it's critically important if they're going to be sharing their faith with others that they're equipped to answer the difficult questions and objections that they have. As a side note, I want to point out that in addition to the lessons, the games we are playing are actually an important part of their spiritual formation. I don't know if you've ever thought about that, but we want our students to know that God is not a cosmic killjoy. God is in fact the cosmic merrymaker. He wants us to faithfully steward and enjoy His world. For instance, the Heidelberg Catechism says of the Sabbath that it is a festive day of rest. We're intended to play. The first Sabbath was us enjoying the fruits of God's labor together before we had done any work. Adam and Eve were just enjoying God and His creation. And so we want them to know that God's made them to enjoy His world and what that looks like. If you remember when the younger brother in the story of the prodigal son gets saved, the older brother draws near to the house, and what does he hear? Music and dancing. What does it look like, so to speak, to redeem the party? These were God's ideas. So God is a God of joy. So from one angle, games are spiritual warfare. It is an opportunity for us to say that true joy is not found in the ways of the world, but in the ways of the kingdom. And I also wanted to just mention that the meals are critically important too, for building fellowship and camaraderie. And when you look throughout the New Testament, the mission of the church often looks like a meal. There's theological significance to games and meals, not just the lesson. Although, of course, we give primacy of place to the word. In the near future, we will also start meeting on Wednesday evenings for youth group Bible study or community group. And we do this at people's homes, and we'll talk about this later, but that's one way you could serve if you're willing to host, whether it's inside or outside, for a youth community group. And the goal of this is for the students to have a midweek touch point and source of spiritual encouragement. And so we will provide more information on these Wednesday evening events once they're scheduled. We're trying to get everything else kind of in place, up and running before we start those, but it should be here in like the next month. That's what we got for Sunday and Wednesday evenings.
And finally, just some other events. Just to make sure you know, if you're a mom with young children, we do have our Friday morning play group that meets over in the education building. It actually starts in the children's church rooms and uses the playgrounds. It's a great chance for you to find fellowship. Just one note, this particular Friday, the whole campus is closed, so that won't be happening this Friday because we're having a major construction thing happening, I think. But the Friday after that, those will continue as far as we know, Fridays 9:30 to 11 a.m. The Children's Ministry Committee is continuing to meet to talk about what other large children's events we can do. You know, we love to do those. We're just trying to figure out what is the right time to safely reintroduce some of those things. But we do know we are planning, God willing, our normal large inside and outside vacation Bible school next summer, June 20th through the 24th, so that week right after Father's Day. And the theme is trains, my friend. So we're super excited about that. And you can even start praying now for that and for all these other activities. Also want to make sure you know that we will have a number of children's activities at the Food Truck Rodeo, which is coming up October the 30th, Saturday, October the 30th, 4:30 to 7:30 p.m. here on campus. Great time to invite your neighbors with children or other friends that might especially be looking for a church. There will be 3 food trucks here for you to choose from, some live music, and we have 2 different inflatables coming. One inside-outside bounce house slide combination for preschoolers only, and then another large open-air inflated obstacle course for elementary ages all the way through adults. So yes, dads, you can do your thing. They told me there's not a weight limit, so we'll see. Anyway, we're excited about that. We hope to see you there. It's always a fun time. You can pray for good weather. I did also just want to point out that on these back counters under the windows are a number of resources that we put out. We have a large number of books and parenting guides and helps that we want to offer to you. There are also lists over there that you're welcome to take with you, resource lists with suggestions of Bibles and books and things like that. You're welcome to take those. But I know I often get the question from parents, what Bible do I buy for my child? And there is not a one-size-fits-all answer because of your children's unique interests and, of course, their age. So I have a number of examples of my personal favorites that you can leaf through. Not too early to start shopping for Christmas. And those are available for you to see. There's also some of our favorite book series that we use alongside our Sunday school materials and children's church materials. You'll also find just some basic parenting resources as well as some book sets to guide you through the more challenging conversations that you need to have with kids. Sex education. How do we protect our bodies, these temples that God has made? The very difficult conversation about pornography, which sadly we need to have younger and younger. And there's actually 2 excellent resources over there that can help you explain that to as young as a preschooler and then a little bit older. So I encourage you to take a look at those. Also, I get questions, we just lost a loved one in our family, maybe a grandma or a grandpa or another, a friend or a neighbor that a child was attached to. How do we deal with death and heaven and explain that? There's a few resources over there about that, as well as if you have a child that is suffering from anxiety or depression or is acting out in an angry way, some guidelines for that. These do not replace your love and care. They do not replace, in some cases, the need for Christian counseling, but they are a place to start. And if there's anything that you are looking for that's not there, if you'll let me know, I will try to help find a resource. I also wanted to point out in the very far back, there are a set of books. If you are looking to kindle or maybe to rekindle a love for God's Word for elementary kids, a little bit older, maybe they're kind of done with some other things. There's some great new books that are called Bible infographics that just are very visually appealing, that are set up kind of, I don't like to use the word trivia because the content is not trivial, it's truthful, but it's in a compelling format. And we find that they particularly resonate with some of our elementary age girls and boys. So be sure to check those out. There's also some information about our Sunday school curriculum. If you want to see what it looks like from preschool, what we're studying, there's a handout back there that you can take, and a bright orange copy called The Big Picture, which I personally love, that just talks about what the different ages and stages at Sunday school are looking at and how that maps to their development.
I'm going to chase a quick rabbit. So last night I had a meal with Paul Whitmer, and I was telling him about some of my friends that I grew up with, and I've been going on a beach trip with my close-knit group of high school friends for over 20 years. And this past summer we went again, and now we're going with, they all have kids. My first is on the way. But we were driving to take the kids to get donuts, and I was riding with one of my buddies, riding with the kids in the back, and on the way home, the discussion was broached with his son, who I think is 5, maybe 6, and they started to share with me that he had basically the cat had died, and so had never really been aware of the concept of death, and he just like had melted. Like he started to put the pieces together that am I going to die, or mommy and daddy going to die? And he just had a full-on meltdown. But then he started to ask some pretty challenging questions as a 5-year-old, like if God loves us, like when daddy's with me, if I'm about to get hurt, daddy keeps me from falling off my bike. When daddy's not there, why doesn't Jesus keep me from falling off my bike? And that was the question that he asked while I was in the car, and I was in the back like, oh. Like, this is going to be interesting. I can't wait to see how they answer this question. And without skipping a beat, his wife turned around. It was a good thing that Jono was in the car and teed me up for that question. And I was like, I don't know how I'm going to answer this for a 5-year-old. So it really is, I fumbled the football. I answered as best as I could. They were like translating my analogies for him. But I went home, and my sister is the Alisa Arslan of a PCA church in Rome, Georgia, and asked her for some recommendations and got a resource. So not just for you, but if you have neighbors whose kids are asking difficult questions, that's a great way to introduce them to the faith, as well as giving them the answer to these difficult questions. So, all right. So other events, beyond these weekly scheduled events with youth group and Wednesday nights and Sunday school, we also have monthly, quarterly, and annual events. So monthly, we will be doing group outings like Durham Bulls games, Carolina Hurricanes games, bowling, putt-putt, movie nights, ice cream socials, etc. We want to facilitate an opportunity each month for the students to continue to develop a genuine sense of doing life together. This year there's also going to be a focus on mission. I really want, that's definitely, hopefully as you get to know me, that's one of my just my heart beats for all my high school friends that I just told you about. Most of them have not come to know the Lord. And so that's always been kind of a driving motivation for me to go to seminary and study apologetics and these things, is to answer their difficult questions when we're on a car ride together or whatever. And I just think that equipping our students to, beyond just having a devotional life, which is critically important, how can we inculcate a habit and a rhythm of life where they see it as just something that they're doing on a regular basis to share the gospel and to do biblical justice. So we will try to do quarterly events, like a food drive for Dorcas Ministries, or an evening where the students come and learn how to share the gospel with a friend, a schoolmate, a neighbor, a family member, through writing them a letter. I think oftentimes when I have people that are afraid to have that conversation, one of the ways that can serve as a runway to having one-on-one conversations is teaching people to write a letter. It doesn't have to be long, it can be short, but that's one thing I think we could do. We're also going to, I met with the director and associate director of Young Life. So we're going to be thinking about ways we can partner with them. I mean, they're great at reaching the lost, you know. So how can we continue to support them or do events where we can partner together? So we're going to be thinking about things like that, whether it's bringing in, you know, some named apologist and inviting the community and students from all the schools around, different things like that. Anyways, we're coming up with what it's going to look like to, on a quarterly basis, provide opportunities to teach the students what it means to do evangelism and to do biblical justice. So that's the goal of the quarterly events. Then annually we have trips like the 4-day Reformed Youth Ministry Conference, or a mission trip where we go spend a few days serving, developing spiritually, making memories, and growing as a team. And so they just, right before Eric left, they had gone to RYM. There's one in Maryland and then there's one in Florida. So we'll be looking at doing that again this coming summer. And I know that's been just an incredible memory for these students that they share, that's one of their highlights of the year. So we're going to continue to do that. If you have questions about that, let me know. And now, before I sit back down and we turn into the Q&A, I just had some miscellaneous items I wanted to address, because I know that we'll also probably have discussion about it. So this is not me saying we can't talk about this during the Q&A, but just to let you know what's going on. With regard to Lauren's replacement, so having an assistant youth director that's really hired to focus on the young ladies that are a part of 6th grade to 12th grade, I just wanted to give you kind of a update on that. So I've just started. I've been here just now a month. So we wanted to give me some time to get up and running so that I can provide the necessary guidance and support when we bring on someone new. So it's just getting me established, and then we're really going to focus on bringing somebody else on. But additionally, Jillian is going to be involved as much as pregnancy permits. During this time, we are searching for Lauren's replacement. And for an example, next week, Jillian and Alisa Grube are going to take the high school girls out for ice cream. I'll send out information via email on this event, but the plan is to meet Thursday, this coming Thursday, September 30th at 7 p.m. at Fresh in downtown Cary, and there are non-dairy options available, I have been told to tell you. We are in the process on that of finalizing the search team for Lauren's replacement and identifying organizations to request candidates from. We have the job description, salary, and benefits package prepared, and we'll start putting together a list of candidates in the immediate future. You're welcome to send us names if you have someone you think that would be a good fit for this position. If you have, we're going to do a Q&A now, but if you have questions or if something is wrong in the future, please feel free to come to us. If there's something that you need to talk about, something that you're concerned about, you can call me, you can email, you can text me. I promise to get back to you within 24 hours if something's going on. But we just, I mean, we're not Jesus, so we're not going to get everything right, but our heart is to always make things right. And we want you to know that. And we really want the opportunity to work through any challenges that come up together. So please, please feel free to come talk to us. We genuinely, genuinely love your families and are devoted to serving as an ally in the spiritual formation of your children. And that's why we're here. And we just want you to know that we're really dedicated to your families, regardless of what that looks like. Even if it looks like something outside regularly scheduled events, please come talk to me. I'm willing to be flexible, whatever your student needs.
Just how can you help? This list got longer, sorry, as we talked more. It started off with 3 bullets. Anyway, the first and foremost is if you are parents of children here at Peace, bring your families to worship. Bring them to Sunday school. Once we start Sunday evening, bring them on Sunday evening events. As I said earlier, they can't drive the car. And so they need you to make sure that that this is a priority in your family. And we know you can't come every time, and that's okay. And as Jono says, we know that we're not going to always get it right, but we do long to see your kids to be able to pour into them. So bring them to these opportunities. The other thing I add is just to encourage your children's friendships with other Peace kids outside of these things that we do here. And many of you are doing this beautifully. Your community groups are thriving and you're doing that. But those relationships that you are helping cement at early ages will have a much better chance of growing if you are in and out of each other's lives in a regular way during the week. If you're not already approved, we do need more approved volunteers. You have to be approved here at Peace. And yes, you have to submit to a background check, which we pay for and handle. All that stuff is handled confidentially. Jono and I see none of your personal data. No, it's not disseminated among a group of people. It's private. But we do ask that for your protection and the protection of your children. But we do need more approved folks and would encourage you, if you're not approved, to start the process by sending an email and you'll be guided through it. There's a very short online set of videos to watch and then a very simple test to take at the end. I am also looking for a children's ministry, and it can be super flexible about how that looks. If you know of a candidate, let me know. There are Sunday morning and evening responsibilities with children, most every Sunday, and then very flexible hours throughout the week to help with administrative items. I'm even willing for this to be a couple of people if that suits, and it is a paid position. So if you know of a candidate or if you're interested, please let me know. And then specific youth ministry needs, folks to provide meals for Sunday evening for middle school and high school. If you're a parent of middle school or high school, you're already getting the opportunity to volunteer for that, but the door is wide open for anyone to volunteer. It's a great way to support our youth group, and it's also a great time to have fellowship, maybe with your community group or your Bible study, to come together, fix a meal together, serve it together. It's a great way to serve us here. He's looking for regular and sub teachers for the middle school youth group on Sunday evenings. Approved drivers for youth events. That's just an additional step of the approve our child protection policy to be an approved driver. That's just another step. And then host home for Wednesday youth community group or Bible study. And last but absolutely not least is we covet your prayers for us, for all those that are leading and teaching, and for your families. We are praying for you, but we do ask that you pray for us. We will not always get it right, and we do ask that if there's something happening that you don't like or you don't understand, please come to us first. If we don't know about it, we can't address it. And so we would love to be part of that conversation with you. We do thank you for partnering with us. And if there's any way that you need help that we haven't talked about today, again, let us know. I really encourage you to take time to look at the resources over on the wall. And if you have multiple children, if you could pick up the youngest one first. It sounds like a small detail, but sometimes the younger ones are really done at 7 p.m. Which means that sometimes the people that are with them are really done at 7 p.m. So if you could start with picking up your youngest one, like if you had one in every group, you could start with them and end up with your oldest one, that would be great. I failed to mention this earlier, but if you do have a child in a preschool age Sunday school class or whatever, we do ask that you drop them off at the classroom door and pick them up. Once they're in first grade Sunday school and above, when the Sunday school is over, we do let them go. And so it's good for you to set a place that you want to meet them so that you don't lose track of them. Thank you for your attention.